Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new lesson in IGCSE English as a second language. Today's class will be about summary writing. So, before we begin, it's important to ask yourself, why do we need to learn summary writing? Other than the fact that it is an essential question in your IGCSE English paper, it also applies in our everyday life. For example, when someone asks you, what was the movie about? Your answer would be what the movie was about, whether it was a horror movie, whether it was a scientific movie, and what was the main event that took place in the movie. But you would not be giving the extra details. Similarly, summary is a brief statement in your own words of a passage. So in other words, we can say it's a shortened version of a long text and shortened passage which retains the essential information of the original. When understanding summary, we need to know a very essential component of summary writing. Students often make the mistake of not reading the question correctly and thus lose marks. Therefore, when you do a summary writing, you need to know what kind of question you will be given and how you need to focus on it and how you can work on it. So, there are one-dimension and two-dimension questions. Let's take a look at an example. Write a summary on the advantages of eating outdoors. In this summary, you will be focusing on only the advantages of eating outdoors. Therefore, this is a one-dimension summary. Now let's take a look at another example. Write a summary about the problems children may face when they go to foreign countries for studies and how parents can help their children. When you look at the question itself, you know there are two parts to this question. The problems children may face and how parents can help their children. Therefore, this is a two-dimension summary. When you are addressing whether it is a single dimension or double dimension question, it's important that you include all the 8 content points. For example, in a single dimension, if you are addressing all the advantages or if you are giving all the effects, all 8 points must be present. But if it is a double dimension with 2 sides given to it, you need to write for both sides. Sometimes students ask, what if there are more points on one side? Now, in order to answer that, we need to look how many content points are on advantage or disadvantage. Based on the ratio, you need to write your summary. If there are more advantages given in your text, you need to write more advantage as your summary and less disadvantages if there are less disadvantages given. So, based on the number of content point, you have to base your summary. So, now that you know what kind of question might come, let's move on. Understanding the summary question. As I have said before, you really need to focus on the key components of the question. Read the task carefully and you have to underline what exactly you are required to summarize in this question. Read the following article about children leaving their home to study in foreign countries. Here, this article might contain information about children when they leave their home within their country also, what are the effects it could have on them, or what are the effects of children, effects on children when they leave for foreign countries. So there could be distractors and negating ideas within the article. So it's very important that you select the relevant and correct points. Write a summary about the problems that they may face and how parents can help their children. So let's identify what are the key parts of this question. The problems they may face and how parents can help their children. So it is very important that you identify the key components of a question. Therefore, then you can select the text and scan the article for the correct answer. So when we look at the question, we have identified the key components. What are the two parts in this summary question? Problems they may face and how parents can help their children. Now, in order to compile a good summary, as we move on, we have to make notes of the main point. We have understood the summary question. We have underlined the key parts. Now it's time to move on and make notes of the important point which is relevant to the summary question. Let's take a look at this paragraph, which is of 75 words approximately. Leaving to a foreign country can be an overwhelming situation if it is their first time going alone. So this paragraph, there will be extra details included, and then your task will be to scan the paragraph and identify the main point which is relevant to the summary question. So let's see what are the important point that is in this paragraph. It can be frightening to be in an unfamiliar situation. They can struggle to make new friends, and it cannot always be a very happy experience. So when we move on, we have identified the main points. Can be frightening, struggling to make new friends, missing home. So in order to compile a good summary, we have to scan the text, get the general meaning, underline or highlight the main points relating to the task. Now, when we underline and identify the main points from the paragraph, your answer should be something similar to this. It can be a frightening experience to be in an unfamiliar situation, and they can struggle to make new friends. Here you have compiled the main ideas, main points based on the key question, and you have written it in a grammatically correct sentence. Now that you have understood the main point, you have to understand how to write a good summary. So moving on, to compile a good summary, we do not look at the original text after the main points have been identified. You have to write out your summary based on the main points that you have noted. In order to do this, you have to understand that you need to paraphrase. Now the question comes, what is paraphrasing? Paraphrasing is expressing someone else's idea in your own words without losing the main meaning or main idea. In order to do this, there are two very simple and effective ways of paraphrasing: replace method and reorder method. Replace method, which is to use synonyms or phrases of similar meanings. Reorder method, meaning to change the structure of the sentence with the changed synonyms or with the changed words. So let's take some examples of proper paraphrasing. Start your day with silence. Here, two words have been highlighted: start and silence. When we paraphrase or replace these words, begin your day with quietness. So here we have paraphrased this using synonyms, and we do not change technical terms. Now this is another important point, that some of the terms you cannot change because they are technical terms. So instead of attempting to change all the words, always focus on changing the verbs and nouns which can be changed with synonyms and phrases with similar meanings. Another example, empty your mind. Here also you can see we have changed or replaced the word empty with clear and mind with thoughts using synonyms, and we have done the second part of paraphrasing, which is restructuring the sentence. Here we have restructured the sentence and replaced the previous sentence with clear out your thoughts. Furthermore, we can check out another example. Stop talking so much and start working out. So here we have changed both the phrases, not the word, but this time we have changed the phrases. Reduce the idle chatter and start practicing. Here we have restructured this changed sentence and we have restructured it to come up with a successfully paraphrased sentence. You should start practicing and reduce the idle chatter. Now that we know how we can paraphrase successfully and properly, we have to see that how to compile a good summary. In order to do this, there are certain techniques that you can follow, such as through vocabulary. For example, we spoke to the person who was wearing a white coat and a stethoscope. So here in this sentence, they have described white coat and a stethoscope. A man who was wearing a white coat and a stethoscope. So instead of the description, we have replaced it with the appropriate term, and that is the doctor. We spoke to the doctor. So replacing it with the appropriate or correct word, we can summarize or reduce the sentence, and without losing the point, we can shorten it. Through ellipsis. Here, sometimes we can leave out words such as subject or a verb, provided that the meaning is clear. Let's take an example. Baby chickens are very sweet when they hatch. Here, we know chicks are little baby chickens. Therefore, we have eliminated and changed the word baby chickens to chick. And if you look at this sentence, you can see very and they are removed or eliminated. You can summarize ideas in some more ways through generalization. Here you need to understand, when we are given a text specially to summarize, there will be a lot of extra information. So you need to categorize and group them. So let's see how we can generalize it. She went to the market and bought apples, bananas and oranges. So here we have generalized it, categorized and grouped. Apple, banana and orange fall under the category of fruit. Therefore, she bought fruit at the market. Through shorter constructions, despite the fact it was raining, I still went out. Despite the rain, I went out. So if we could shorten the sentence in any way, we have to make sure or attempt to shorten the words. Finally, through rejection of unimportant details. So the main task of summary writing itself is to eliminate extra details, irrelevant information such as figurative language, similes, metaphors and other extra details and examples which is not required. You need to eliminate them. A few years ago, you could buy a property for next to nothing. Nowadays, however, many families can't even afford to buy a small flat. So now we have compressed it and shortened it, rejected the unimportant information and written property is more expensive than it used to be. Here the main idea is not lost, but it is summarized and shortened. Finally, when we have learned all the summary writing techniques, it's important to know that you need to connect those main points using linking words. You have to use linking words to grammatically connect them and compile them in one paragraph. In order to do so, there are two types of linking words: joining similar points and joining contrasting points. Similar points and contrasting points, you could use some phrases from these linking words. Furthermore, besides, moreover, in addition, however, in contrast, on the contrary. So you could use these linking words to compile the sentence. It is always a good idea to jot down the linking words that you aim to use before you begin to write down the summary. Now here, before we move on, you need to understand that the points that you note down, which is written in the article, it does not need to be in the same order when you write the article or when you write the summary. In your summary, you should jot down those points according to the importance of the content points. Now that you have understood the different techniques of summary writing and how you can successfully paraphrase, let's see if you can try to successfully summarize this paragraph. There was a heavy snowstorm and the two men who were very good mountain climbers climbed up to the highest peak in order to rescue the man who had been trapped at the top of the mountain and in doing so risked their lives. So if you are able to successfully summarize this, and your answer should be something similar to this. The expert mountain climbers risked their lives in the snowstorm to rescue the trapped men at the peak. Here, good mountain climbers have been converted to expert mountain climbers. So the synonym have been used there and the sentence has been restructured. Climbed up to the highest peak. Those parts have been restructured. Some of the extra details have been removed. Top of the mountain has been changed at the peak. Now that you have understood how to successfully paraphrase and summarize, there are few things you need to keep in mind. You need to know how you will be assessed. A maximum of 8 marks will be assigned for content and 8 marks for language. Content marks will be awarded even if you lift directly from the text. But here you need to understand that as much as you paraphrase, you will be awarded more marks for language. To be on the safe side, students are advised to find a 9th content point and write it well. Here, sometimes students make the mistake of exceeding the word limit. If you reduce the word limit to less than 90 points, you risk the chance of missing out on some essential content points. Therefore, you might not be awarded full content point. But you have to make sure to understand that you do not exceed 120 words. Whatever you write after 120 words will not be assessed, and even if you have written a content point, it will not be assessed. If more than 120 points, marks will be deducted for language. Therefore, you do not waste words to write a long introduction, and a summary does not require an introduction or a conclusion. It is better to start the summary in conjunction with the question. So, now that we have understood how you will be assessed, let's have a recall of the whole session. A good summary conveys the information in fewer words, express the content in fewer sentences, and omits information of little importance, leaves out details and examples, departs from the vocabulary and structure of the original text, and does not include your own opinions or feelings. With this, we will wind up the lesson today, and before we end, we have covered all the 3 writing tasks in the IGCSE English exam. Now, it is essential that you practice these writing tasks with the help of past papers and some of the ESL websites. There will be summary writing and article writing questions. You can practice them and then you will be practicing how to do the summary and paraphrasing. So with this, hope that you understood the summary writing lesson, and we will end today. Thank you.